I'm sitting here with a good friend and client and you know what? Business partner, actually, we've done deals together. Miss Judy Sweeney. Lucky to be able to be at a wonderful training today with her. I just asked Judy if she would take a minute. I know her to be a woman of faith, a woman of character, of honesty and integrity. I wanted to ask her how her faith informs her investing. First of all, tell them a little bit about what you do. Let's start there.
Okay. Well, I have been investing for a lot of years. I started out probably 30 years ago and did a few properties that were REOs, bank owns, foreclosures, auctions, bought things like that. And held on to those, collected rent for several years, and then we thought we were retiring. So I sold all of those because they weren't large enough units to hire, I didn't think, a manager.
Right.
I started looking around and I came across like tax liens and deeds, and that was the first thing that I invested in training. I've done quite a few of those, was very successful with them. Later I went into doing things with more of the creative finance side, the pretty house, buying stuff with no money down, other people's money. I've bought stuff just about any way you can figure out how to buy it.
You really have. She's probably the most diversified of deal makers that I personally know. She's done a lot of deals in weird and creative ways.
I have. Some of them have been strung together. You have a deal, but it depends on another deal, and then that one depends on another one. Those aren't always the most fun, but yet they are.
Yeah.
Because you ask about my faith. One of the things with all of those, sometimes you could push a deal through, but it wouldn't be a good deal for everybody. So if it's not going to be a good deal, if it's not going to stand up to honesty and integrity, then I'd rather walk away from it.
I want to repeat that. If it's not going to be a good deal for everybody, if it's not going to be a deal that would stand up to honesty and integrity, she walks away from it. Help me understand, Judy. I know your heart is a Christian woman. I know that you work with Bible study group and women's groups, and that you help people come to faith in Jesus Christ. And I'm not shy of saying that here on my YouTube channel. I'm a Christian man, and God is good, and I love Him. As we try to make money, the Bible oftentimes talks about money in a way where if you're not reading it properly or with much insight or mentoring or coaching, you might read it and say, being rich is bad. It's difficult. So how do you kind of justify your desire to be a real estate investor, and you're a very good one, and the biblical responsibility of not letting money become our God?
Money is a tool. It's something that allows you to do the things you want to do. And many years ago, before I understood that, I struggled with this, how much is too much? And am I being greedy? But then I started to realize that there's never too much. There are always things that you can do as a Christian, as a person, to help other people. There are causes that need your assistance. God's given you the brain and the know-how to put together things that create income, that can support something for somebody that can't, then that is your God-given responsibility.
It's a responsibility. I would even call it a God-given stewardship.
It is.
It's your responsibility. So if He's given you gifts and talents to make money and you don't, you'll have to answer for that.
Right. If you go back to the parable in the Bible of the talents.
Yes. The ones that invested and doubled the money took risk, didn't they?
They did. So
risk is godly.
Yes.
Because you're living in faith, in hope. And the one who buried it was living in fear. So what does the Bible tell us about faith and fear? Can they inhabit the same thing?
Absolutely not.
They're oil and water, aren't they? As you venture into your deals, your real estate deals, that feeling of being a faithful woman who's been given gifts and talents, how do you come to a decision where you think, okay, this feels right? Does the feeling of the Spirit give you any guidance in your decision making?
It does. You'll be pushed toward doing things that are right, and there will be things that there's a stirring inside of you that you just need to not do that.
I'm going to give you 5 on that. The stirring, yeah. When there's a stirring inside, when it's not settling, you gotta listen to that, don't you?
You do.
Yeah.
But then by the same token, if you're kind of waffling on something and the stirring is, you need to do this, then you need to listen on that side too.
Well, yeah, and I would add something. Sometimes I've had a feeling like I should do that, and it feels good, and you know what, I go out and I lose money, or I made a mistake. I followed what I felt God wanted me to do, and it didn't work quite like I thought it would work. I don't know, has that ever happened to you where it wasn't exactly what you thought it was going to be?
Yes.
That's normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here's what I know about God. Even when it isn't as good as we had hoped it would be, because we went down the path He led us down, He's such a great God that He's going to make it up for us. We will end up with that double talent. We will end up with that glorious goodness, even if it wasn't like, hey, I'm a masterful investor and everything I touch doubles. That's not the way it works for me. I don't know if everything you touch doubles, but
it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Some you're just glad to break even. But then others, you look at them and you're like, man, that was pretty good.
God is good. I was thinking today as I was driving out here, and I was actually thinking of you. I was hoping I'd be able to interview you. Paul says, money answereth all things. Jesus says, be careful when you're rich. He didn't say don't be rich. He said be careful. Do you see, as you go to trainings and as you meet people, are some people at a point where money answereth all things? They don't really have problems they can't solve with money, so they forget God? Do you see that?
Some of those probably never knew Him in the beginning.
No, thank you. Wow. Again, Lucy's. They probably never knew Him in the beginning.
You know, people will give God lip service, but they've never totally depended on it. In fact, I was telling a story, this is totally off subject.
Go for it.
But I was talking with a young man here at the table, and we were talking about storms and tornadoes just probably 3 years ago, and I'm coming down the road. It's a little winding road that goes down through a valley, and I'm looking at the clouds, and I mean, it's a tornado cloud. And I'm like, I'm praying, Lord, take that cloud back up. I was very specific. Lord, take that cloud back up. I didn't want it coming down because it was going to come right up the valley where I was. And I'm driving up through there, and all of a sudden, I hear, stop the car. I look in my rearview mirror, I'm like, who's in my back seat? And I hear it again, stop the car. I slammed on my brakes. About that time, I look up to my left, and coming down the ravine are trees going like this.
Oh my goodness.
They cross the road right in front of me. Your faith has to be that strong that God is that real. And then you don't question when you have a feeling.
No, and you're in a position, you who've been blessed with some means financially, are in a position to be able to listen to that still. Because money hasn't become your God. Even though money can answer all things, you could get a new truck. You could get to the hospital and pay your bills. You could do all of that with money.
I couldn't replace me.
No, thank you. But it's important. As we build this wealth, as we try. You're on my channel because you're interested in money, but temper it with good nature. And if you're like Judy and I, and that is in faith in Jesus Christ, temper your desire for money. Be willing to give it away, like Abraham was willing to sacrifice Isaac. But what did he do when it was time to sacrifice? God said, "Hey, hang on." I think if the young man who had all that money had said, "Dude, sell everything. I want to follow this man," I think Jesus might have said, "Hang on to all that stuff. I might need it later because this mission of mine is going to be expensive."
Right.
He just failed his test.
He just needed to know his heart. And his heart wasn't where it needed to be.
It was on money that can fix stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, cool. But God can fix everything. He can keep you getting sucked into a tornado.
Absolutely.
You're an angel. I love you.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. That was awesome.